Good morning. Good morning. This is Lois with As We Go, and I am here with
Jenice
Jenice.
Walters.
Hi, Jenice.
Hi, Lois. Good morning. Happy Monday, everyone out there in Facebook land. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. We are talking this morning about communication. It is a great big topic that I think a lot of us miss the mark on a lot.
Yeah.
They say that communication is one of those things that we may not always do so well.
Yeah.
My husband actually came in the kitchen and said to me, "What about this food here?" He was asking me very diplomatically what needed to go in the refrigerator,
Mhm.
and we have this thing in our house called women speak. Where I say, "Well, would you take out the trash?" Or "I want to go shopping," or "I want to take this here." And anytime he hears those words, he's like, so that means that needs to happen." And I said, "That's your version of women speak." Um, there's these certain things that we do in conversations that maybe not so clear. I've been reading Renee Brown's book, Dare to Lead. And in there, she talks about how being clear is kind
Mm.
and unclear is not kind. And what do you think about that?
So that's a good analogy, actually. So being clear is actually very kind so that people can be understanding or get an understanding of what it is you're trying to communicate or trying to convey. And so that makes sense, that it's a kind thing. So if you want people to understand you, that you're clear, that you're straightforward, that people get it the first time, that there's no innuendos, there's no reading between the lines. It's very clear. It's a clear message and people get it. That does make sense, that it's a kind way to communicate so that there's not misunderstandings and people, stop talking because they feel that, or their perception is that you're a certain way, or you're in a particular mood because of something you said, or because of something you didn't say. It just kind of cuts all the baloney out of the way and the misunderstandings when you're clear, straightforward, succinct. People know exactly what you're saying and they don't have to guess. I think that's a kind way to communicate. I think that's, yeah, I like that.
Because it's not just what you're saying too, right? It's body language.
Yes.
Half of what we communicate, a lot of our communication is body language.
Yeah.
So we perceive things based on how you look at me or how my voice comes across.
Yep.
And it may not have anything to do with what I'm actually thinking.
That is so true. And that's how people get mixed messages or get their lines crossed, right? Because you're acting a certain way, you're saying something totally different, and the look on your face is saying something else. So people are kind of confused. Like, is she in a good mood today? Is she in a bad mood? Should I approach her today? Should I not? What's really going on, right? So it's interesting because I took this course in college. It was body language. It was such an eye-opener for me and a very revealing course, in that you can tell a lot from people's behavior and mannerisms, and probably less by what they say, but more just watch and read the body language. You can find out a whole lot. I mean, they tell a whole story. The body tells a whole story. And I remember after taking that class, I used to live in New York. So I was taking the subway to school and taking the subway everywhere I went. And I would sit on the subway and I would just observe people. And you could tell couples that were newly together. You could tell couples that were having a fight that morning. You could tell, who was siblings. You could just tell, they're not saying anything, just sitting on a train or standing on a train. But you could tell a lot just from reading their faces, reading their body language, how they were sitting, like couples that were fighting or just at odds that particular day, they'd be kind of sitting together, but really not together. They kind of facing the opposite way, or their legs would be crossed a certain way, and they'd be kind of crossed in opposite directions. And so it was just interesting to kind of be able to take notes and see that a lot can be picked up from body language and facial expressions and mannerisms. So that course was like an eye-opener for me, and it was just such a revealing course. And I think that's true today. Even in my coaching and in my training, when I used to do training classes, when I have to read my audience, as they say, or read my class and participants in the class, it's a matter of not hearing what they say, but watching how they are engaged, if they're engaged or not, watching how they respond when I'm speaking to them or trying to convey something to them. You can tell a lot. And sometimes I'd have to just switch the whole atmosphere, stop the training, do an exercise to kind of get them re-engaged, especially if they were glazed over or if they were just, disinterested, or the subject wasn't getting across. So it's a matter of being able to read your audience, read the person, pick up on the signals, pick up on the signs from their body language and from what they're saying in their face, as opposed to what they're actually saying out of their mouth, because it could be two different things. So, yeah.
Yeah, I noticed we have, we talk about that a lot here between my husband and I.
Yeah.
Because there are moments where he says something or I say something, and there's that exchange where you get kind of in yourself withdrawn or uptight about something, and then you have to have that moment where of confrontation, which I don't like to do.
Yeah.
And it comes clear that the other person didn't have any idea of what you were dealing with at all.
That is profound, because I've had people tell me, I had no idea you were going through that, or I had no idea you were feeling that way, or why didn't you say something? Because I tend to, when I'm not feeling like I want to have the conversation, I kind of get quiet. So people know something's different, but I kind of internalize as opposed to saying what it is that I need to say. And then at other times that I find that it's just expedient to say what I got to say, get it off my chest, and then I'm over it. And sometimes it can be blunt because I'm just straightforward. But once I've said it, I don't hold any grudges. I don't hold any animosity. I've got it out. I'm free of it now. And so now the other person is having to deal with what I just said, right? So, but for me, sometimes the best way for me to deal with it is just get it off my chest, because if I don't, I'll internalize it. And then people are like left wondering, what exactly is going on with her? Why did I do something? Did I make her mad? What? So sometimes I just have to say what I got to say, but other times I internalize it. So it just depends on the situation, because I too don't like confrontation. So, but I do believe in communication. So sometimes I do have to have that hard conversation, which can be difficult. I mean, as a manager in corporate America, I had to have some hard conversations with people that worked for me, and a couple of instances I had to let people go, and that was just hard for me, because they were nice people, they just didn't work well. And so with, verbal communication, written communication, and they still didn't get it, and then suspensions or write-ups, and I had to let them go. That was the difficult. I mean, it was coming and they knew it was coming, but still to have that conversation was just a difficult one to have. So yeah, it's just definitely a hard conversation when you have to have a difficult conversation with somebody. It's easier when the conversation's, not so emotional. But even then, some people have a hard time with that because some people have a hard time expressing themselves, right? They have a hard time in
Yeah, and
expressing their
that's
feelings.
what makes it so difficult is the emotion. Like we
Yeah,
get tied up in the emotion and we want to just lash out, or
yeah,
we draw into ourselves. Everybody deals with their emotions in a different way.
true.
And then you have this spectrum of highs and lows, and how do you find dealing with that from your situation in corporate America now to where you are? Have you found any tools to make that easier?
Well, I think with communication, it takes practice like most other things, right? So it's hard to have the difficult conversations, but the more you have them, then you got to build yourself up to having them. And then once you have them, it's done, right? But I think the buildup that people kind of get worked up about, the build up to the conversation or the run up to that difficult conversation that people are stressing about it. Whereas once you get it done, once you just kind of build up to that and get it done, then the pressure's off. That valve has been released. So I just find that with practice, of conversations that are sometimes hard to have, you get better. It's something that you have to be aware of. If you're having a difficult time with communication, maybe it's something you can get some help with, or maybe it's something that you need to do some more research on, or know a little bit more about yourself in terms of how you communicate and whether you need to be able to communicate better. It's just having insight into that and having awareness of yourself and how you communicate, if you do communicate, or if you don't, or if you like to communicate, or if you can't. You need to know yourself in how you are in certain situations and whether or not you can have the conversations you need to have. But I find that with conversations, the more you have them, the better you become, I believe. And especially when you get to know the other person, then you know how to approach them, or you know how to broach that conversation with them, or to initiate that conversation with them. So the more you practice that, I think the better you become at communicating. I think it's something that can be learned and acquired. I do believe that.
Yeah. In this book, she actually talks about that pain of stepping into the conversation.
Uh-huh.
And the research they did on that was about 8 seconds. Like when you step into that conversation, the amount of time it takes to really be awkward is about 8 seconds, and it's
Huh.
done.
And then after that, it's over with?
I
You
thought
saying?
it's over. I thought it was very interesting.
Huh.
If you
Now,
can
who's
get
this
past
book by? What is this book?
Daring to Lead by Renee Brown.
I think that's a good book to read.
Yeah, I thought it was real interesting.
Yeah. Daring to Lead. Okay.
Step on in 8 seconds.
So let me ask then. So is it that leaders, this is a book for more for leaders and how they communicate? Or is this
I
book
guess
for
it's Dare to
anybody?
Lead. Yeah. She's speaking from two leaders really in from more of a corporate
Gotcha.
setting, but it's a really good book for leaders in general, I think.
Yeah, I think it sounds like a really intriguing book. And I might have to look that up, because I think as an entrepreneur, you need to have some leadership ability and some leadership qualities, right? And sometimes in your business, you will have to have those conversations as well with people that work for you, with people that reach out to you, with people that you do business with, so on and so forth. When you network, all of those things play into how you run your business and how you lead your business and how you lead the people around you. So I think that would be a very interesting book to read and to kind of learn some tips and tricks of the trade. Yeah, Dare to Lead. I like it. So tell us what you think about leadership and communication and how important that is in your everyday lives, in what you do. How do you communicate? Are you a person that kind of withdraws when you're having to face that difficult conversation? Or are you a person that is pretty able to have the conversation and let the chips fall where they may? Or how do you lead? Do you initiate the conversation, or do you wait for them to approach you? I mean, just tell us a little bit about how you communicate, because just taking an introspective look at how you do that may be a kind of an eye-opener for you, and a learning lesson in that you might need some help in some areas, or you may need to do some research in some areas, or may need to do some hard reflection on how you communicate. So let us know how you communicate, and whether or not you are one of those types of communicators that needs help or doesn't need help, or knows how to communicate or needs some help in communicating. That'll be good to know. Interesting conversation this morning, Lois. Communication is key in relationships, and in whether it's business, personal, whatever, platonic, communication is really key. It's an
I
important
hope you
part.
guys have a great Monday. I think we may
Yep.
be back talking about this topic a little bit more.
Yeah,
next
because it's an interesting topic. It's an interesting topic,
one.
and I think we need to talk some more about it, because it's very important in how we get along with each other and how we, do business together and all of that. So communicating is going to be part 2 next week. So have a great Monday, everyone. Thank you for joining us today in the conversation. And of course, drop us a comment and let us know what you thought of today's Monday Musings. And we'll see you again next week. Have a great day.